Hi there, I'm Sapphire, your Cultorium historian. And be sure to like and subscribe to this video channel and follow us on patreon.com. You'll see a lot more deep dives in there, video scripts, archives research, so much more. But today, let's deep dive into the archives. Few creatures of folklore have proven as adaptable, enduring, and even haunting as the werewolf. From medieval Europe's courts to sagas on YouTube videos of supposed Dogman sightings, the figure of the human wolf hybrid has shifted dramatically across time and place. Today, we're going to trace the transformation. We're going to argue that the werewolf in Europe functioned primarily as a religiously moral figure, a manifestation of sin and heresy, while when it came to America, it transitioned into more of a creature of the wilderness, not bound by sin, but instead by location, landscape, and local fears. We're going to look at some case studies, ranging from early modern witch trials to even the Michigan Dogman and Navajo skinwalker today. Modern film portrayals are some of my favorite ways for us to understand how we see werewolves within American contexts, and we might explore some of that too.
Yeah, there we go. Thought so. Maybe that red one with the black face. Sure looks like him.
We can definitely see how werewolves reveal the anxieties of the culture that they're from. In Europe, the monster portrayed a moral boundary, but within America, it prowls the edges of the forests, the unknown, the shadows. Now, werewolves are prevalent in many other cultures, but today we're going to focus on the differences and similarities between the Western European and the American. In late medieval and early modern Europe, werewolves were not just campfire tales, they were legal cases. Across Germany, France, and Lithuania, and Estonia, men and women were accused, tried, and even executed for lycanthropy. The infamous case of Peter Stumpp in Bedburg, Germany in 1589 exemplifies this trend. He was subjected to torture and confessed under it. Making a pact with the devil was what he had claimed, donning a magic belt that allowed him to transform into a werewolf, and murdering both livestock and his own neighbors. He was executed in a very gruesome, designated way and publicly displayed as a warning against sin and corruption. The court records definitely demonstrate how the werewolf was intertwined with Christian demonology during the time. Transformation into a wolf was not simply strange, it was evidence of falling from grace, a succumbing to temptation, of becoming beast rather than human. Now, scholar Carlo Ginsberg has also shown confessions of werewolf activity often overlapped with beliefs in witches' sabbaths, night flights, and diabolical armies. We can also see from trends during that time that a lot of werewolf cases paralleled that of witchcraft cases. So, if you were accused of being a witch, you may as well have been accused of being a werewolf. Outside of the courts now, literature reinforced these associations as time continued. French tales like the Biscleret by Marie de France depicted noblemen who were cursed to become wolves because of betrayal or disloyalty. While, on the other hand, Icelandic sagas used wolf warriors to symbolize the embodiment of rage and blood. In both cases, the wolf form carried a moral weight. It was never neutral. Some scholars have even described this as the medieval werewolf being a luminal figure, trapped between civilization and savagery, reason and passion. What we can take away and what united these depictions was their religious infliction. To become a wolf was to lose one's God given humanity, to embody sin or moral failure. Werewolves were sermons in fur, reminders of what happened when humans strayed from divine order. When European settlers carried werewolf lore across the Atlantic, the meaning did not transplant wholesale. The American colonies lacked the church run legal systems that prosecuted witches and werewolves. Now, there were still witch trials, as the case of Salem, but werewolf trials did not happen here. Confessions under torture did not define the folklore in the same way. Instead, the figure of the wolfman adapted into a new cultural ecosystem, the wilderness. The forests of North America were vast during the time of settlers. They were untamed and frightening to anyone who saw them as a place of danger, paganism, and chaos. This is where the American werewolf turned from moral disfigurement to American cryptid. By the 19th and 20th centuries, American werewolf stories had evolved into tales of mysterious beasts haunting rural communities, such as the Michigan Dogman, who was first reported all the way back in 1887. He was described as a 7 foot tall creature with the body of a man and the head of a dog or wolf. Now, in Wisconsin, they have what is called the Beast of Bray Road. He prowls the farmland, especially within the late 20th century, inspiring both local legend and a huge amount of media frenzy during the time.
Absolutely.
Tell us about what you have here.
I have Jackie and I, another investigator with me.
Yeah.
This past winter, found a three-toed print by the marsh.
Okay.
Excuse me. And he has 1, 2, 3 toes, and you can see that his foot is this big.
Yeah.
So it's pretty big. And we found it by the marsh where he likes to hang out.
Okay.
And he also hangs out other places on Lee Hempel's farm, which is adjacent to Bray Road.
Okay.
Unlike Peter Stumpp, these creatures were not accused of heresy. They were seen, not confessed. They belonged not to the courtroom, but to the landscape itself. Figures of rural anxiety, economic decline, or environmental unease. In 1945, though, Anderson, South Carolina, had a massive wolf panic. It was sparked by sightings of a half human creature, and definitely illustrates how the figure continued to adapt as a shorthand for fear of the unknown within rural life. Here, the werewolf shifted from moral allegory to cryptid folklore, less about sin and more about the location that it's tied to. This is what got me into werewolf lore in the first place, as I was a little kid, fresh on YouTube. It had only been out for a couple of years, and I was in the prime preteen adolescent age to be subjected to the horrifying videos of skinwalkers being caught on camera by dash cams. The Americanization of the werewolf also intersected, often very problematically, with indigenous traditions. The Navajo skinwalker beliefs described witches who can transform into animals, often being depicted as wolves or coyotes, as part of a deeply rooted spiritual system. They are not cryptids, but figures bound to Navajo cosmology, taboo, and cultural boundaries. Yet, popular media and paranormal enthusiasts frequently flatten skinwalkers into native werewolves, or slot themselves alongside the Dogman legends. The rise of a very popular show that I myself have even watched, Skinwalker Ranch Stories in Utah, where outsiders claim to witness wolf like entities, illustrates how indigenous beliefs have been appropriated and reframed as entertainment or evidence of the supernatural. Now, side note, Skinwalker Ranch has nothing to do with skinwalkers aside from a sighting that happened to take place ages ago. The show itself, I do recommend you watch it if you're into silly paranormal stuff, but don't take it seriously. I'll do another video on it at a later date. These shows misrepresent and underscore the dominance of American models. Creatures are pulled into the category of wilderness monsters and are detached from their original spiritual frameworks. Now, Hollywood's The Wolfman 1941 preserved much of the European model of a werewolf. Larry Tableau becomes a werewolf after being bitten, cursed to kill against his will. The film emphasizes fate, curse, and even tragic downfall. The true tragedy. It echoes the older view of what a werewolf was considered to be, as a moral lesson about hubris and sin. Later films like Ginger Snaps in 2000 reframed the curse as a metaphor for puberty and female sexuality, but it still retained the European motif transformation as moral or bodily corruption. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I do plan to see the new werewolf movie. I haven't seen it yet. I'm very excited to see it and to see how the idea of a werewolf has changed within our culture over the past couple of decades, because it's been a while since we've had a werewolf movie. So, sound off in the comments below if you've seen it or if you plan to see it by the time you see this video, and your thoughts on the movie and how the werewolf represents werewolves in American cultures. Cryptid films, continuing. On the other side, the Americanized werewolves increasingly resemble cryptids. Documentaries and horror films about the Beast of Bray Road, the Dogman, or Skinwalker Ranch present the werewolf not as a cursed sinner, but as a lurking wilderness predator, an animal that defies classification. In his cinematic role, the werewolf is closer to Bigfoot than to Peter Stumpp. They're not punished for sin, and they're not even seen as the embodiment of sin, but they're instead feared for intrusion into human spaces. Now, in the 21st century, werewolves have been moved from pulp and film into digital folklore. YouTube sighting videos of dogmen, TikTok clips warning of skinwalker voices in the woods, and even creepypasta stories about backroad creatures all build on the American tradition of environmental monsters. Where Europe had confessions before judges, America now has blurry night vision videos before online audiences. Both forms serve similar functions. They authenticate the werewolf as a cultural reality, but the meaning differs. No one accuses a TikTok uploader of heresy. Instead, the monster stands as a symbol of uncanny wilderness, of what if. So, what does this all mean? The werewolf's transformation from Europe to America reveals how monsters adapt to cultural needs. In Europe, the werewolf was a religious and moral figure, a warning against sin and temptation, policed by the church and the very courts that ruled the area. In America, it was stripped of all of that framework. The werewolf became a creature of the land, the very unknown that surrounded you, a cryptid of the forest, fields, and backroads, reflecting directly fears of the wilderness, isolation, and the ruralness of what was the American vast. This shift does not erase the past, instead, it transforms it. We have films now like The Wolfman, who I do plan to go see here soon. I might even give you guys a review on it. Continue to echo Europe's sinful werewolves. Like Dogman sightings, carry forward Americans' environmental ones. Together, they demonstrate the power of folklore. It's so powerful. It writes what we understand as humans. We use folklore to tell stories and to answer the unknown. And monsters survive because they change with us, reminding us of what we fear most, whether that's damnation or the dark woods at night. I'm your host, Sapphire, your occultorium historian, and thank you so much for joining me today as we delved into the archives and discussed one of my most favorite topics. Now, this video is coming out during spooky season, so please feel free to share any werewolf stories that you might have. I would love to hear what you all have to say. Do you think that the American werewolf embodies more of the natural aspects, or do you still think that it retained some of its sinfulness that it had back in Europe? If you enjoyed this content today and you would like to see more, be sure to follow us on Patreon at patreon.com/occultoriumhistorian. Your support is the world to this channel. Stay curious.